meet the enigmatic figures who have earned the notorious title of the most dangerous prison inmates in the world. Delve into their gripping tales of crime, cunning, and the relentless pursuit of chaos. Brace yourself for a journey behind bars that unveils the chilling stories of those who have left an indelible mark on the dark annals of prison history. Charles Bronson. Born as Michael Peterson in Luton, Bedfordshire in December 1952, the infamous prisoner, widely known as Charles Bronson, later adopted the name Charles Salvador. Convicted of armed robbery in 1974, the former bare-knuckle boxer has spent most of his life behind bars and gained notoriety for his violent and dangerous behavior. While incarcerated, Bronson has created numerous artworks, with some proceeds donated to charity. His artwork sales, along with several published books about his prison experiences and fitness regime, have contributed to his earnings. Bronson's prolonged imprisonment stems from his initial conviction for armed robbery and wounding at the age of 22 in 1974. Infamous for his attacks on prison staff and fellow inmates, his history includes assaulting a fellow prisoner in 1975, a 3-day rooftop protest in 1985, and several hostage situations. In 1994, Bronson held a prison librarian hostage, demanding peculiar items as ransom. Subsequent incidents involved taking inmates and a prison education worker hostage, leading to discretionary life terms and additional jail time in 2014 for holding a prison governor in a headlock. Despite his release being denied in 2017, Bronson continued to make headlines, including being cleared of attempting to harm a prison governor in 2018. In 2020, Bronson successfully argued for a public parole hearing, held in March 2022 at the Royal Courts of Justice in London. At the hearing, he spent 23 hours a day in his cell, citing concerns about coping with release. Described as a retired prison activist, he displayed signs of PTSD, according to an independent psychologist. Bronson expressed a desire for release, dreaming of simple pleasures like walking on grass and attending art shows. However, the parole board, considering his offending history and progress in custody, deemed him unsuitable for release. While acknowledging improvements in self-control, the board expressed concerns about his ability to manage the risk of future violence outside his highly restricted environment, recommending against a transfer to an open prison. As we uncover these gripping stories, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Now, let's dive back into the chilling narratives. Jason Barnum. In 2012, the notorious criminal Jason Barnum, also known as Eyeball, due to a striking tattoo covering the white of his right eye, gained global attention when he pleaded guilty to shooting a police officer in Anchorage, Alaska, at the age of 37. Barnum's tumultuous past caught up with him in September 2012, when police, investigating vehicle break-ins and burglaries, encountered him at an Anchorage hotel. A confrontation ensued, resulting in Barnum firing his gun, injuring Officer Dan Thien. Barnum, sustaining injuries himself, was sentenced to over 20 years in prison. However, it was his unique eyeball tattoo that contributed to his infamy. The incident unfolded as 3 police officers investigated crimes in Anchorage. The police connected a vehicle to the crimes, leading them to a hotel room where Barnum was staying. During the encounter, Barnum fired shots, injuring an officer, and a standoff ensued, involving multiple police officers and SWAT teams. Eventually, Barnum surrendered. Barnum, whose face was adorned with skull and skeleton tattoos, attributed his criminal lifestyle to difficulties finding employment due to his appearance. He cited leaving prison in 2010 without support from the Alaska Department of Corrections as a contributing factor to his life choices. In court, Anchorage Police Department Chief Mark Mew acknowledged Barnum's hostile behavior, but emphasized that sentencing couldn't be based on his appearance. Barnum, reflective during his sentencing, admitted to wrongdoing and expressed remorse. Despite the risks associated with eyeball tattoos, Barnum's case highlighted the dangers involved. Medical experts, including John A. Hovhannissian, Maryland, warned about potential blindness and severe consequences associated with the procedure. In 2015, Barnum was sentenced to 22 years after pleading guilty to attempted murder, burglary, and weapons misconduct. As of the latest information, Barnum is serving his sentence at the Spring Creek Correctional Center in Seward, Alaska. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Carol Wuornos was an American serial killer who operated as a prostitute in Florida from 1989 to 1990. During this period, she shot and robbed 7 of her male clients. Wuornos argued that she acted in self-defense, claiming that her clients had either raped or attempted to rape her. She was convicted and sentenced to death for 6 of the murders, ultimately being executed by lethal injection on October 9, 2002, after spending more than 10 years on Florida's death row. Born Aileen Carol Pittman on February 29, 1956 in Rochester, Michigan, Wuornos faced a troubled childhood, marked by her parents' divorce and abandonment by her mother. Her father, Leo Pittman, was diagnosed with schizophrenia and later committed suicide in prison. Wuornos was raised by her alcoholic grandparents, Lori and Britta Wuornos, who legally adopted her and her brother Keith. Wuornos experienced early trauma, engaging in sexual activities in exchange for necessities by the age of 11. She became pregnant at 14 after being raped, giving birth to a boy who was subsequently placed for adoption. Facing a turbulent life, she dropped out of school and turned to prostitution to support herself. Her criminal activities escalated over the years, including arrests for DUI, assault, armed robbery, and other offenses. Wuornos hitchhiked to Florida in 1976, where she married and quickly divorced Louis Gratz-Fell, a yacht club president. Her criminal record continued to grow, with charges ranging from armed robbery to car theft. Throughout her imprisonment, Wuornos displayed erratic behavior, accusing prison personnel of various abuses. She was executed on October 9, 2002, and her ashes were scattered in her native Michigan. Thomas Silverstein. Thomas Silverstein, born on February 4, 1956, in Long Beach, California, lived a life marked by violence and crime. Raised amidst familial complexities, he experienced bullying in his youth, which set the stage for a cycle of violence. Arrested at 19 for armed robbery, Silverstein's criminal journey took a darker turn when he murdered an inmate while serving time, leading to a life sentence. In prison, Silverstein joined the Aryan Brotherhood gang for protection, committing heinous acts on their behalf. His actions, including the murder of fellow inmates and a corrections officer, spurred the creation of supermax prisons and the practice of solitary confinement. Sentenced to life, Silverstein spent 36 years in solitary confinement, making him the longest-held prisoner in such conditions in American history. The solitary cell, equipped with constant video surveillance and minimal human contact, became his isolated world. Despite his violent past, Silverstein's extended period of solitary confinement raised ethical concerns, with critics, including the ACLU, denouncing it as a form of torture. His crimes, including multiple murders within prison walls, played a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of modern corrections. Silverstein's incarceration led to the construction of the ADX Supermax prison in Colorado, designed explicitly to house inmates in extreme isolation. After enduring years of solitary confinement, Silverstein fell ill following heart surgery and briefly experienced freedom from total isolation during a hospital stay in 2019. However, he passed away on May 11, 2019, leaving behind a legacy that prompts reflection on the ethical implications of long-term solitary confinement. Mark Bridger. April Jones, a 5-year-old girl, was tragically abducted and murdered by Mark Bridger. Bridger, born in Carshalton, Surrey on November 6, 1956, had a troubled past marked by numerous encounters with the law, including convictions for firearms offenses, theft, attempted theft, and deception, starting at the age of 19. Bridger, who fathered 6 children by 4 different women, became a prime suspect in April's disappearance on October 1, 2012. Eyewitnesses observed April getting into a vehicle with a man resembling Bridger, prompting his arrest for her abduction. Subsequent investigations revealed a disturbing collection of child abuse images on Bridger's computer. Despite extensive search efforts, April's whereabouts remained unknown, leading authorities to charge Bridger with child abduction, murder, and other offenses. At his trial in January 2013, Bridger pleaded not guilty to murder, but admitted being probably responsible for her death. Forensic evidence linking April to Bridger's home, coupled with his claim of accidentally running her over and disposing of her body while intoxicated, led to his conviction in May 2013. Bridger received a life sentence with a recommendation for never being released. Despite this, April's body has never been found. Bridger is currently held at HMP Wakefield, Yorkshire, a Category A prison known for housing dangerous offenders like Ian Huntley. His status as a Category A prisoner subjects him to strict monitoring and prevents him from sharing a cell or enjoying privileges such as a television. In July 2013, Bridger was attacked by another prisoner at Wakefield Prison, resulting in significant injuries and necessitating surgery. Despite his request for a transfer following the assault, it was denied. Joaquin Guzman. Joaquin Guzman, widely known as El Chapo, stands out as one of the most notorious criminals in the 21st century, achieving legendary status for his prison escapes, leadership of a formidable criminal empire, and his ability to evade law enforcement for extended periods. Born on April 4, 1957 in La Tuna, Mexico, Guzman's life journey led him to become a household name and a subject of fascination for many. His criminal journey began with his father's involvement in growing marijuana, exposing him to the drug trade from an early age. In the 1970s, he collaborated with rising drug lord Hector Luis Palma Salazar before joining forces with Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, founder of the Guadalajara cartel. After Felix's arrest in 1988, Guzman formed his own cartel, the Sinaloa cartel, which gained immense power and wealth through the production and distribution of various drugs, including cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin. Guzman's strategic leadership, ruthless tactics, and adaptability to changing dynamics within the drug trade fueled his ascent to power. Pioneering the use of distribution cells and long-range tunnels, he significantly influenced the Sinaloa cartel's operations, making it one of the most formidable drug trafficking organizations globally. His involvement in corruption and bribery schemes infiltrated law enforcement agencies, providing him with a level of impunity. Despite his criminal activities, Guzman displayed sharp business acumen, understanding the economics of the drug trade. His charismatic and enigmatic persona contributed to his notoriety, transforming him into a folk hero in certain Mexican communities. Guzman's criminal career included 3 arrests with 2 successful escapes. His first escape in 2001 involved bribed prison guards facilitating his getaway, leading to a manhunt by US and Mexican authorities. His second escape in 2015 was a remarkable feat through an elaborate tunnel, showcasing the extent of his criminal influence. However, in 2016, Guzman was recaptured after a shootout, and he was subsequently extradited to the United States. In 2019, he faced a high-profile trial where he was found guilty of multiple charges related to his role in the Sinaloa cartel. On July 17, 2019, Joaquin Guzman was sentenced to life in prison, serving his term in the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility in Florence, Colorado. Joseph James DeAngelo. Joseph James DeAngelo, known by a slew of aliases including the Golden State Killer, was a notorious American serial killer, rapist, and burglar responsible for a string of heinous crimes in California from 1974 to 1986. His sinister spree encompassed at least 13 murders, 51 rapes, and 120 burglaries. Born on November 8, 1945, to Kathleen K. Louise DeGroat and Joseph James DeAngelo Sr., he grew up with 3 siblings, enduring a traumatic childhood marked by witnessing his sister's assault in West Germany and alleged abuse from his father. His early years were punctuated with troubling behavior, including reported involvement in burglaries and cruelty to animals. DeAngelo's romantic life was tumultuous, with an engagement to Bonnie Jean Colwell ending in 1971 amid accusations of manipulation and abuse. He subsequently married Sharon Marie Huddle in 1973, with whom he had 3 children before their separation in 1991 and eventual divorce in the wake of DeAngelo's arrest in 2018. The capture of Joseph James DeAngelo was facilitated by groundbreaking investigative techniques, notably genetic genealogy. By leveraging DNA databases and constructing family trees, detectives traced potential suspects, ultimately leading to DeAngelo's apprehension. In 2020, HBO aired I'll Be Gone in the Dark, a documentary series chronicling the pursuit of the Golden State Killer, directed by Liz Garbus, Elizabeth Wolfe, Miles Kane, and Josh Corey. D'Angelo pleaded guilty to his crimes and received a life sentence without parole. Expressing remorse, he apologized to the victims' families during court proceedings. Despite calls for the death penalty, prosecutors opted for life imprisonment due to the age of the case and the lengthy investigation. Joseph James D'Angelo currently resides in an undisclosed California prison, where he will spend the remainder of his days for the atrocities he committed. Tamara Samsonova. Tamara Samsonova, a 60-year-old grandmother beheaded, dismembered, and then ate parts of her victims in St. Petersburg. Dubbed the Granny Ripper and Baba Yaga by the Russian media, Tamara chronicled gruesome details of her killings and acts of cannibalism in a diary written in Russian, English, and German. Born on April 25, 1947, in Uzhur, which is now part of Krasnoyarsk Krai, Russia, Tamara gained notoriety in 2015. In the year 2000, Tamara's husband vanished, leading her to seek help from the police. Despite her efforts, no trace of him was found. 15 years later, in April 2015, she approached the investigative unit of the Frunzensky district in St. Petersburg, providing a statement about her husband's disappearance. Tamara's heinous crimes targeted neighbors and former tenants, including her missing husband, who has never been located. After his disappearance, she began renting out a room in her apartment. Investigators revealed that on September 6, 2003, during a dispute, she murdered a 44-year-old tenant from Norilsk, dismembered his body, and disposed of it on the street. In March 2015, Tamara entered the life of 79-year-old Valentina Nikolaevna Ulanova, a resident on Dimitrov Street. Initially sheltered by Ulanova due to renovations in her own apartment, Tamara's presence extended for months. The relationship soured over time, leading Tamara to poison and kill Ulanova after conflicts arose. Tamara's arrest on July 27, 2015, came after she was caught on CCTV cameras near her residence, carrying body parts of her latest victim, Valentina Ulanova, in a black plastic bag, along with a pot containing her head. Charged with Ulanova's murder, Tamara confessed to the crime, detailing her method of luring Ulanova with a drugged salad and dismembering her while still alive. During court proceedings, Tamara blew kisses at the press, expressing a deliberate desire to be known as a serial killer. She acknowledged her guilt and claimed she had prepared for this day for a decade, citing homelessness as a motive for imprisonment. Tamara underwent trials related to 14 murders and was found to suffer from schizophrenia. Forced into a forensic psychiatric examination, results on November 26, 2015, deemed her a danger to society and herself, leading to her placement in a specialized institution until the investigation concluded. In December 2015, she was sent for compulsory psychiatric treatment in a specialized hospital in Kazan. Michael Campbell. A man from Coantrim has received a life sentence after admitting to the murder of Roy Reynolds. Michael Campbell, 34, formerly residing in Rathcoole, had initially pleaded not guilty but changed his plea during a recent court appearance. At Belfast Crown Court, Solicitor Advocate Gerard McNamara informed Mr. Justice O'Hara of the rearraignment request, to which Campbell responded with a guilty plea to the murder charge. Mr. Justice O'Hara announced the life sentence, stating, "In light of the fact that Mr. Campbell has now pleaded guilty to the murder of Mr. Reynolds in March, I am imposing on him a life sentence." A tariff hearing is scheduled for February to determine the duration of his custody before potential release consideration by the parole commissioners. Prosecution counsel Sharon Murphy KC mentioned that documents, including potential victim impact statements from Mr. Reynolds' family, would be submitted ahead of the tariff hearing. Campbell had previously admitted to attempting to prevent the lawful and decent burial of Mr. Reynolds. Co-accused Robert Fulton, aged 69, of Brickhill Park, Newtown Abbey, had previously pleaded guilty to knowing about Campbell's murder and assisting in removing, transporting, and attempting to conceal the body. While details about the murder were not disclosed during the recent court session, a previous hearing mentioned that Mr. Reynolds' body was found in a County Antrim reservoir. The High Court revealed that Mr. Reynolds sustained multiple fractures and stab wounds at Campbell's residence in Rathcoole. Fulton reported witnessing Campbell pressing his foot on the victim's head, resulting in a cracking sound. Mr. Reynolds's remains were discovered at North Woodburn Reservoir near Carrickfergus on March 28, 2022. Fulton was accused of bringing his car to the scene and drilling holes in a breeze block in an attempt to weigh down the victim. The arrests occurred after a neighbor reported seeing a man dragging a naked body from Campbell's home to a car. A subsequent search of the property revealed blood-covered walls, signs of a disturbance, a blood-stained knife, a screwdriver, and an electric hedge trimmer on the sofa. The court disclosed Mr. Reynolds' injuries, including fractures to the jaw and ribs, as well as stab wounds to various areas of the body. Ah Fong. On April 14, 1999, the shocking case known as the Hello Kitty murder unfolded in Hong Kong, marked by the brutal death of nightclub hostess Fan Man Yi. Triad member Chan Man Lok, along with his associates, kidnapped the 23-year-old victim on March 17, 1999, from her home. For nearly a month, they subjected her to unimaginable torture within an apartment in the Tsim Sha Tsui district, culminating in her death on April 14. The gruesome details of this case might have remained concealed if not for a chilling visit to a Hong Kong police station by a 14-year-old girl in May 1999. She claimed to be haunted by the ghost of a woman bound by electrical wire and tortured, dismissing it initially as teenage fantasies. However, her revelation took a disturbing turn when she confessed to being involved in the murder. Leading the police to a flat in Kowloon, they discovered a Hello Kitty doll containing the decapitated skull of the victim. Fan Man Yi's tragic life began with abandonment by her family, leading to her upbringing in a girl's home. Struggling with drug addiction, she turned to prostitution to support her habits. By 23, she worked as a nightclub hostess while still battling addiction. In 1997, Fan met Chan Man Lok, a 34-year-old socialite and triad member, establishing a connection based on their shared involvement in illicit activities. A theft attempt by Fan in 1997 led to her abduction by Chan and his henchmen, Lung Xingqiu and Lung Wailun, intending to force her into prostitution and recoup stolen money. The horrors inflicted on Fan included beatings, burning, rape, and forced consumption of human feces. The case took a twisted turn when the 14-year-old girl, known as Ah Fong, Chan Man Lok's associate, reported the murder. Ah Fong not only disclosed the torment Fan endured, but revealed her active participation in the abuse, describing it as for fun. Fan Man Yi succumbed to the torture after a month. Her body was dismembered, cooked to impede decomposition, and disposed of. The killers, using Hello Kitty memorabilia, sewed her boiled skull into a doll, keeping additional body parts as trophies. During the trial, Ah Fong testified against Chan Man Lok and his henchmen, receiving protection in return. Despite the disturbing nature of the story, evidence found in the apartment, adorned with Hello Kitty items, corroborated the gruesome details. The trio faced manslaughter charges rather than murder due to uncertainty about the cause of death. The Hello Kitty murderers were sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 20 years, leaving the public in Hong Kong reeling from the horror of the case. Samantha Lewthwaite. Samantha Louise Lewthwaite, born on December 5, 1983, in Banbridge, County Down, Northern Ireland, is a prominent terrorism suspect and one of the Western world's most wanted individuals. Her parents, Andrew and Elizabeth Lewthwaite, divorced in 1984, significantly impacting her. Seeking solace, she turned to Muslim neighbors, leading to her conversion to Islam at the age of 17, adopting the name Sherafia. Lewthwaite's life took a notorious turn when she met Jermaine Lindsay at a Stop the War protest in London, marrying him on October 30, 2002. Lindsay was one of the terrorists responsible for the 7/7 London bombings, making Samantha widely known as the White Widow. Following Lindsay's death, Lewthwaite became a fugitive in Kenya, facing charges related to possession of explosives and conspiracy to commit a felony. An Interpol Red Notice has been issued for her arrest and extradition. Accused of being associated with the militant group Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Lewthwaite is alleged to have orchestrated grenade attacks on non-Muslim places of worship and an assault on a Mombasa bar during Euro 2012. In June 2014, reports suggested that Lewthwaite was in Kenya, prompting security forces to launch a large-scale operation to apprehend her. There were claims of her presence in the coastal town of Lamu, attempting to visit a Kenyan army base in Somalia. However, conflicting reports emerged, with Lamu Police Commander Leonard Omolo denying the allegations, stating that the woman in question was a Spanish tourist who had already returned home. The mystery surrounding Samantha Luthwaite, the White Widow, persists as authorities intensify efforts to bring her to justice. Andrei Chikatilo. Andrei Chikatilo, born on October 16, 1936, in Yabloknoye, was a notorious Soviet serial killer responsible for the deaths of at least 50 people between 1978 and 1990. His case garnered widespread attention not only due to the high number of victims, but also because of the challenges faced by Soviet authorities in acknowledging and addressing serial murder within the confines of communist ideology. Chikatilo's upbringing was marked by the aftermath of the devastating Ukrainian famine of the 1930s, during which millions perished and instances of cannibalism were reported. His mother frequently recounted to him the tale of an older brother supposedly abducted and consumed by neighbors, a story that may have influenced Chikatilo's later acts of cannibalism. He developed a macabre fascination with accounts of Soviet mistreatment of German prisoners during World War II. Following military service, Chikatilo worked as a telephone engineer near Rostov-na-Donu and later pursued a teaching career after earning a degree in 1971. However, allegations of sexual assault led to his resignation from teaching. Chikatilo's killing spree commenced in 1978, targeting young victims he encountered at transportation hubs around Rostov-na-Donu and other cities where he worked. Despite the characteristic mutilations inflicted on victims, Soviet authorities struggled to acknowledge the presence of a serial killer due to the prevailing belief that such crimes were incompatible with communist society. His arrest in 1984 for molestation briefly interrupted his crimes, but police misidentified his blood type, allowing him to evade suspicion. After a brief prison stint for theft, he resumed his murderous activities. A relentless police investigation eventually led to Chikatilo's arrest in 1990. He confessed to his crimes and cooperated with authorities, leading to his conviction for 52 murders. Chikatilo was sentenced to death and executed in a Moscow prison. If you found this glimpse into the world of notorious criminals intriguing, don't forget to hit that like button, share with fellow crime enthusiasts, and subscribe for more chilling tales.